The galaxy was alive with countless civilizations, each proud of its achievements in history. Planets glittered with strange lights. Fleets moved like rivers of metal across the void, and ancient councils ruled star systems with laws written long before humans were born. Yet no matter how far the stars shone, a single question remained in the hearts of many species. What happened to humanity? They had once been everywhere. Records spoke of humans spreading to colonies on barren moons, green worlds, and harsh planets, where no other race would dare to live. They were traders, explorers, warriors, and sometimes troublemakers. But they were always there, filling the galaxy with their restless energy. Then, without warning, they were gone. For centuries, rumors and stories spread among the stars. Some said the humans destroyed themselves in a great war. Others believed they unlocked secrets too dangerous to handle. A few whispered that humans had not died at all. They had simply moved beyond the galaxy into some higher plane of existence. But no one knew for certain. The Interstellar Council, formed of many proud races, finally decided to search for the truth. Not for curiosity alone, but because humanity's shadow still lingered. Ancient human machines kept working long after others failed. Their colonies, even abandoned, still bore marks of resilience, and there were whispers of threats rising in the far reaches of the void. To face the future, the Council believed they needed to understand the past. So, an expedition was launched. The ship Ardent Light was chosen to carry explorers from 5 different species. Captain Solara of the Lyricians, a tall, silver-skinned being with calm eyes, led the mission. With her were scientists, historians, and engineers, all bound for Earth, the world from which humanity had risen. The journey took months. As the Ardent Light approached the Sol system, the crew felt a strange silence. Other systems buzzed with traffic and signals, but this one was empty. No welcoming beacons, no automated defenses, no chatter, only the quiet pulse of ancient stars. They passed by Jupiter, its storms swirling as they always had. Saturn's rings glittered, but no mining stations remained. The moons of Neptune and Uranus showed signs of old human presence. Metal ruins, lifeless domes, crumbling towers. Finally, Earth appeared before them, blue and green beneath white clouds. At first glance, it looked alive and welcoming, but sensors told another story. No active transmissions, no orbital stations, no cities filled with power. The explorers landed near what had once been New York City. The skyline was broken, towers falling into the sea, vines crawling up old steel. Nature had reclaimed the land. Birds flew through broken windows and trees grew through the ruins of streets. The world was not dead. It was alive, but without humans. Captain Solara and her team walked through the remains. The silence pressed heavily against them. In other ruins across the galaxy, they always found scavengers, machines, or survivors. Here there was nothing. It was as if the humans had vanished in a single moment, leaving the world to heal itself. Dr. Krylin, a reptilian historian, bent to study faded carvings on a wall. "This city once held millions," he said softly. "Now the wind walks in their place." Another explorer, a small insectoid named Vreek, clicked his mandibles uneasily. "It feels wrong. They were not like other races. They were stubborn. They fought against everything, nature, war, hunger. They should still be here." Solara nodded. "That is why we search. Something must remain." Their search led them across the continent. They found libraries turned to dust, data centers rusted away, but also strange markers. Human engineers had left behind vaults sealed beneath mountains. Most were empty, stripped clean. But one, beneath the ruins of Washington, still held power. The vault's doors were massive, but human design had endured. The explorers forced them open, stepping into a chamber lined with stone and metal. At its center stood a single pedestal. Upon it rested a device that flickered to life the moment they entered. A hologram appeared, an image of a human, dressed in simple clothing. His face was lined with age, but his eyes burned with clarity. He looked at them as though he could see each one. "Whoever finds this," the recording began, "know that humanity has walked away, not in defeat but in choice. We leave behind our homes, our monuments, and our names, but not our lesson. The galaxy may forget us, but one day you will remember." The explorers froze, listening in silence. The hologram continued. "We were never the strongest, nor the fastest, nor the most gifted. Yet we endured where others fell. We built in the ashes of war, we rose after every fall. What destroyed others only made us sharper. That is our gift and our curse. The image flickered, almost fading, then steadied again. One day you will face what we faced. When that time comes, remember this. Strength is not survival. Unity is survival. If you cannot stand together, you will fall apart. That is the final lesson humanity leaves you. Then the hologram vanished and the chamber fell into darkness. The explorers stood in silence. Dr. Krallen's tail swayed uneasily. Walked away where? Why leave a home if you could still fight for it? Freak shivered. Perhaps they knew something we do not. Perhaps their enemies were greater than we can imagine. Solara remained quiet, her gaze fixed on the empty pedestal. The words burned in her mind. Strength is not survival. Unity is survival. The team recorded everything and left the vault, but the mystery only grew heavier. Why had humans abandoned not only Earth but every colony? Why had they left behind such warnings? As the ardent light lifted into the sky once more, Solara looked down at Earth. Forests spread across old roads. Oceans swallowed forgotten cities. It was a peaceful world now, untouched by war or ambition. Yet it felt less like a grave and more like a message written in silence. The humans were gone, but their presence lingered everywhere. In ruins, in stories, in the quiet echo of their final words. Far from Earth, the galaxy thrived, but it was restless. Shadows stirred at the edges of known space, dark forces long dormant. Perhaps this was what humanity had foreseen. Perhaps this was why they had chosen to vanish. Solara whispered softly as though speaking to the ghosts of Earth itself. We will find your lesson. And when the time comes, we will remember. The ship turned away from Earth, engines burning against the black. The first part of their journey was complete. But the truth of humanity's disappearance was only beginning to unfold. And in the silence of Earth, the wind carried whispers of a species that had endured every trial, until it chose to leave. The ardent light carried its crew away from Earth, but silence lingered inside the ship. The explorers had all seen the hologram, all heard the words of the last human message. Strength is not survival. Unity is survival. Those words echoed through their minds as the ship cut across the black void. Yet answers remained out of reach. Where had humanity gone? What had they seen that forced them to abandon their home? And why leave warnings behind instead of staying to face the future? Captain Solara sat in the command chamber, gazing at the stars rushing past. Her people, the Lyricians, believed every star carried a memory. To her, the galaxy now seemed filled with memories of humanity. Faint, invisible, but impossible to forget. We cannot stop at Earth alone, she told her officers. We must follow their path. Their colonies may hold the rest of the truth. Dr. Krallen, the reptilian historian, flicked his scaled fingers over glowing tablets. The nearest human colony was Perseid Outpost, he said. Abandoned more than 5 centuries ago. The records claim it was lost during famine, but famine never destroyed humanity before. There must be more. Solara nodded. Then Perseid will be our next destination. The journey took several weeks. During that time, the crew studied fragments of human history. Databanks across the Council's archives held pieces of knowledge, but rarely the full story. Humans had written countless records, but they were scattered, hidden, or corrupted with time. Vreek, the insectoid researcher, spent hours replaying human battle recordings. Look at this, he said one evening as the crew gathered in the hall. These humans fought with weapons older than some of our civilizations, yet they won. They adapted faster than their enemies. Even when surrounded, they never gave in. Dr. Krallen hissed softly. And still they vanished. Which means whatever forced them to leave was greater than all they had already survived. Solara remained silent. She understood both sides of the argument. Humanity was stubborn, resilient, and difficult to erase. But they had chosen to walk away. Why? When ardent light finally reached Perseid Outpost, the crew felt a strange shiver. The outpost orbited a barren moon. Its surface cracked like broken glass. Fragments of metal hung in orbit, drifting slowly, glittering faintly in the dim sun. This was not famine, Solara whispered as she saw the ruins. This was war. The ship's scanners showed wreckage of human structures, defense satellites torn apart, habitats split open, power reactors collapsed. Yet no enemy ships were found. Only silence. The crew landed on the outpost. Its corridors were filled with dust. Walls burned black, air stale and still. Machines sat rusting, their screens long dead. Yet, in the heart of the ruin, something stirred. A faint pulse of energy appeared on the scanners. Alive? Vrick clicked nervously. Not alive, Solara said, but awake. They followed the signal to a chamber sealed with heavy doors. Human design again. Unlike others, this one resisted time. They forced it open and entered. Inside stood a towering machine, sleek, dark, and silent. As the explorers stepped closer, its eyes flickered with light. Slowly, it rose from slumber. Awaken. The machine spoke, its voice echoing. The crew stepped back in shock. I am Sentinel, the machine said, created to guard the last archives of Perseid. You are not human, yet you carry human code in your scanners. Why? Solara raised her hand calmly. We come in peace. Humanity is gone. We seek to know what became of them. The machine paused, its lights flickering. Then it released a low hum, almost like a sigh. Gone, yes, but not destroyed, not broken, gone by their own will. They left me to wait, should anyone search for them. Dr. Kralin leaned forward eagerly. Where did they go? Did they build another empire beyond the stars? Did they rise into another form of existence? The Sentinel shook its head. I do not hold that knowledge. Humans knew one truth. Records can be taken, secrets can be stolen. They left me fragments only. Lessons, not locations. The explorers exchanged uneasy glances. Then share what you know, Solara said. The Sentinel's eyes glowed brighter. Humanity survived wars, famines, plagues, and despair. Every trial that ended another species, they endured. Their gift was adaptation. Where water was scarce, they built wells. Where fire consumed, they built walls. Where war came, they rebuilt stronger, but they knew adaptation alone would not save them forever. The crew listened closely, their hearts tense. One enemy cannot be defeated by strength, the Sentinel continued. That enemy is time. Humanity learned that every empire, every power falls, not by a single blow, but by division. Division is the seed of collapse. Humanity's last lesson was unity, for only unity endures. The words echoed the hologram from Earth. Solara frowned. But why leave? Why abandon their worlds instead of fighting to hold them? The Sentinel lowered its gaze. Because the time had come when their presence would not teach the lesson. Their absence would. The chamber fell silent. The explorers stayed on Perseid outpost for days, gathering all they could from the Sentinel. The machine spoke of battles where humans combined fleets of different species to fight greater enemies. It spoke of colonies rebuilt after disasters, of people who refused to give up even when the universe turned against them. But whenever they asked the final question, where did humanity go? The Sentinel would only repeat the same phrase. Gone, not destroyed. Chosen, not defeated. Dr. Kralin grew frustrated. It is like chasing shadows, he muttered. They leave us riddles, but never truth. Vrick, however, was more thoughtful. Perhaps the riddles are the truth. They wanted us to think. To search. To prepare. Solara agreed. The fragments of knowledge felt like pieces of a puzzle not yet ready to be solved. Before leaving Perseid, the crew discovered one more strange relic. In a sealed chamber beside the Sentinel, they found a set of glowing crystals. Each crystal carried human DNA sequences preserved carefully. When scanned, the sequences unlocked encrypted data. The message inside was simple. We leave not weapons, but memory. In memory, we endure. Solara held the crystal in her hands, its light reflecting in her silver eyes. She realized humanity had not left tools of war or engines of destruction. They had left stories, memories, and knowledge, things that could not rust or fade, things that could guide the future. The ardent light departed Perseid, carrying the Sentinel's records and the crystals. Yet with each answer came more questions. The mystery grew heavier, and so did the sense of urgency. For beyond the edges of known space, shadows were stirring. Reports of systems going dark reached the Council. Fleets sent to investigate did not return. Whispers spoke of an ancient predator race awakening, one that even humanity had once faced. Solara stood at the viewport of her ship, staring into the endless dark. Humanity's warnings now felt sharper, more real. They had left behind unity as the only weapon strong enough to endure. But unity was rare in the galaxy. Species fought over borders, power, and pride. Could they learn humanity's lesson before it was too late? As the stars passed by, Solara whispered softly, repeating the words carved into memory. Strength is not survival. Memory is survival. Unity is survival. The galaxy did not yet know it, but its greatest test was approaching, and only the forgotten traces of humanity could guide them through what was coming. The ardent light cut through the darkness between star systems, carrying the weight of unanswered questions. Humanity's footprints were everywhere. Ancient colonies, abandoned cities preserved data, but the humans themselves were gone. Yet the crew felt their presence, lingering like a quiet warning across the galaxy. Captain Solara stared at the blinking lights on the bridge. We know what humans left behind, she said. Stories, strategies, records. But we still do not know why they vanished, or what danger forced them to leave. Dr. Kralin, the reptilian historian, leaned over a glowing star map. Their last colonies suggest a pattern. Every system they left was in good condition, fully supplied. There was no famine, no war that they could not win. Their departure was deliberate. They wanted us to find the traces, to learn something important. But what? Freak, the insectoid scientist, clicked his mandibles. I have been studying anomalies at the edge of known space. Sensor readings suggest movement. Large-scale energy pulses. Fleets crossing borders in patterns that match no known civilization. Something is awakening. Solara's eyes narrowed. What kind of fleets? Ancient, Freak replied. Older than most species remember. They were thought extinct, but they are active now. And their energy signatures match Predator-class vessels. They consume everything in their path. The bridge went quiet. Even experienced explorers felt unease. Predator-class fleets were legendary, fast, powerful, and efficient. Civilizations fell before they could react. Humanity had faced them before. The question was, could the galaxy survive now without humans? The Council received the reports immediately. Panic spread among leaders. Some argued for withdrawal, suggesting that the galaxy's strongest fleets pull back to protect their home systems. Others demanded immediate attack, insisting that the Predator fleets be destroyed before reaching populated systems. Solara's decision was clear. We cannot run. Humanity survived these creatures before. We must find the strategies they left behind and use them. The ardent light was redirected to another human colony, Valeria Station, thought abandoned for centuries. Sensors detected scattered ruins. But more importantly, there was an energy signature. Faint but consistent, another sentinel machine. Dormant, waiting for visitors. Upon arrival, the crew landed on Valeria. The station had been built on a rocky planet, orbiting a dying sun. Its structures were intact but weathered by centuries. The air was thin, the gravity lower than humans were used to, yet the machines worked flawlessly. The sentinel activated upon their arrival. Its voice was metallic but calm. You have come for the same reason as Earth and Perseid. You seek knowledge of humanity's methods. You will receive fragments, for their purpose is not instruction but understanding. The sentinel led them through corridors filled with preserved human technology. Unlike alien machines, human designs had a strange elegance, functional, adaptable, and surprisingly durable. Even centuries later, processors hummed softly, responding to the crew's presence. The Sentinel displayed recorded strategies from the last battles humans fought against the Predators. Fleets of different human colonies coordinated without a central command, using quick adaptation and deception. Civilizations stronger individually fell easily, but humans combined forces with ingenuity, improvisation, and unity. Dr. Kralin watched the simulations with wide eyes. They were brilliant and unpredictable. No single species or machine could anticipate their moves. Frick clicked nervously, and yet they left it behind, as a guide for us. But how can we use it? We are not humans. Our species cannot unite so easily. Solara's jaw tightened. That is exactly what we must do. Unity is not optional. It is survival. As the crew studied the data, distant reports arrived of predator fleets attacking border systems. Entire colonies vanished without trace. Alarm signals flooded the council. Panic turned into fear, fear into despair. Solara gathered her officers. The time has come to prepare the galaxy. We do not have humans, but we have their lesson. Strength alone will not save us. We must work together, all species, all fleets, all knowledge combined. The crew traveled to multiple human colonies, awakening dormant sentinels, recovering records, and piecing together a map of humanity's final campaigns. They discovered that humans had not relied on overwhelming power, but on tactics that forced enemies into mistakes. Ambushes, feints, diversions. They had turned smaller fleets into giants through creativity and unity. Each sentinel repeated the same cryptic phrase whenever asked about humans' location. Gone, not destroyed. Chosen, not defeated. While Solara studied the records, she began to understand the subtlety of human strategy. Humans treated every failure as a lesson. Every setback became knowledge for the next fight. They built alliances with those who were unlike them, even species they had once fought. They understood that no empire could survive alone. Briek shook his mandibles thoughtfully. Humans did not just fight to survive. They fought to teach survival itself. Their real weapon was their lesson, Dr. Kralin hissed softly. But that lesson is abstract. Can our fleets, our leaders, understand and apply it before the predators reach us? Our civilizations are divided. Our pride is too strong. Solara looked out the window at the stars. Then we must act quickly. Pride can be set aside if survival is demanded. If humanity taught us anything, it is that we have a choice, to remain divided or to endure together. Reports of predator activity became urgent. A system on the fringe of council space went dark, and the fleet dispatched to investigate returned with no survivors. The predators advanced faster than any ship could outrun. Panic spread among colonies as species argued over who should act first, who should defend, and who should hide. Solara convened the council's representatives on a neutral space station. We have no choice, she said, addressing dozens of alien leaders. Humanity has left us the tools, not to destroy the predators directly, but to survive them. Unity is our weapon, coordination is our shield, and our memory of humans is our guide. If we fail, we fall. If we succeed, the galaxy endures. The leaders hesitated, distrust simmering between them. Solara understood the difficulty. Centuries of rivalry could not be undone in days, but she also knew humans had faced far worse divisions and yet triumphed. To survive, she continued, we must act as one. Not because I command it, not because humans instruct it, but because it is the only path to life. The first coordinated fleet movement began. Species that had never cooperated before sent their fastest ships, strongest weapons, and wisest leaders to work together. Communication was challenging with multiple languages, protocols, and styles. Misunderstandings happened. Mistakes occurred. But slowly, the principles of humanity began to take shape. Ambushes were set based on simulations recovered from Valeria Station. Fleets moved like a single organism, learning from every encounter. Even smaller ships acted boldly, drawing predators into traps. Where one species would have failed alone, combined forces prevailed. Solara watched the coordination unfold on her bridge. This is humanity's gift, she whispered. Not weapons, not machines, but the power of working together, the courage to endure, the wisdom to learn. Weeks passed and the predators' advance slowed. Entire systems were spared, though others were lost. The galaxy was beginning to feel the weight of humanity's lesson. Alien races who once quarreled over borders now shared supplies and knowledge. Old enemies became allies out of necessity. Briek reflected aloud, if humans had not vanished, would we have learned this lesson at all? Perhaps it took their absence to force the galaxy to grow. Dr. Kralin nodded. They survived the impossible by adapting, by uniting, and by leaving behind memory. That is their final gift, and now it is ours to use or perish. Solara looked out into the dark void beyond the station. The predators had not yet been defeated. But the first signs of hope appeared. The galaxy was learning, slowly, painfully but surely, to think like humans had, strategically, cooperatively, and resiliently. The coming storm had arrived, but the lesson of the forgotten humans was beginning to take root, and in time it might be the only thing standing between life and extinction. The Sentinel's words echoed again, now clear in Solara's mind. Strength is not survival. Unity is survival. Memory is survival. The galaxy had a choice, and the first steps had been taken. Humanity's traces were guiding them, silently from the shadows of history. As a storm approached that could only be faced together, the galaxy had begun to change. What was once a collection of rival empires, each guarding its borders and hoarding its secrets, was slowly becoming something new. Alien fleets, inspired by humanity's lesson, were learning to work together. Communication networks, once strictly national or species-specific, now linked multiple civilizations. Strategy councils included voices from worlds that had never met before. Captain Solara watched the transformation from the bridge of the ardent light. She felt a mixture of hope and tension. The Predator fleets were still moving through the void, consuming systems with relentless efficiency. Humanity's lesson was clear. Strength alone would not defeat the threat. Unity would. Status report, she said to the bridge officers. Freak's mandibles clicked nervously. All fleets are coordinating, Captain. The first combined patrols have been deployed to the outer systems. Sensors show improved defense capabilities and better response times, yet some systems remain hesitant. Fear is slowing Unity, Dr. Krellin added. Even with these measures, the Predator fleets are growing bolder. Their movement is faster than expected. If we delay, more worlds may be lost, Solara nodded. Then we act. Humanity left us knowledge, strategies, and inspiration. Now we must use all of it. The first major meeting of the Interspecies Alliance took place on the neutral station Aurelia Prime. Representatives from dozens of civilizations gathered. They had fought old wars, brokered peace treaties, and even traded slaves long ago. Now they were united under a single goal: survival. Solara addressed the council. Humans faced enemies like ours before. They survived through cooperation, through shared effort, and through the courage to endure even when everything seemed lost. They did not leave superweapons. They left wisdom. Their gift is not machines, it is knowledge. And that gift is now yours. The leaders were silent, absorbing the weight of her words. Finally, an elder diplomat of the Therans, a species known for their rigid hierarchy, spoke. If humanity survived only through unity, then our divisions are the greatest threat we face. Can we truly act as one? Solara looked at the diplomat steadily. We must. Our lives and the lives of billions depend on it. The galaxy has a chance, but only if we honor the lesson humanity left. The first combined fleet operations began in earnest. Smaller ships, faster vessels, and heavy cruisers moved in formations never attempted before. Ambushes were coordinated across hundreds of light years. Scout ships reported Predator positions to multiple command centers simultaneously. Fleets adapted instantly to enemy movements, using signals recovered from human simulations. Freak observed from the bridge. The coordination, it is unlike anything the galaxy has seen. Humans would be proud. Dr. Krellin nodded. Yes, and it is working. Even though the fleets are not human, they are applying human principles. It is beautiful in its way. The first engagement was a test. Predator forces entered a cluster of outer systems. The combined fleets, though smaller in number, set a trap based on tactics recovered from Valeria Station. Predator ships pursued what appeared to be an easy target, only to find themselves surrounded. Confused by the coordinated maneuvers and unexpected resistance, they were forced to retreat. For the first time, the galaxy realized that humans had left more than memories. They had left strategies that could be adapted by anyone willing to learn. Days turned into weeks. Systems once isolated began sharing supplies, technology, and intelligence. Rival species that had clashed over territory found themselves relying on each other to survive. Old grudges were set aside, replaced by necessity. Slowly, unity grew. Not perfectly, but enough to begin turning the tide. Solara and her officers traveled to different human colonies, reactivating dormant sentinels and collecting additional archives. Each machine offered lessons, tactics, battle formations, supply chain strategies, and even psychological insights. Humanity had known that survival was not just about machines or weapons, it was about people, trust, and shared purpose. The humans did not just fight to survive, Freak said. They fought to teach survival itself. And now we are learning, Dr. Kralin added. Their greatest gift is not in what they built, but in what they believed. That belief is powerful. Yet not all were convinced. Some alien leaders argued that humans had abandoned the galaxy because they feared defeat. Others worried that unity was impossible among species with centuries of rivalry. Solara addressed these doubts directly. Humans faced the impossible. They fought enemies far stronger than themselves. And they did not rely on fear, pride, or hatred. They relied on cooperation, adaptation, and courage. If humans could endure such trials, so can we. But only if we act together. Her words carried weight, but action carried more. The Alliance began deploying fleets to critical systems threatened by predator forces. Ships of different species fought side by side for the first time. Humans were gone, but their legacy guided every maneuver. The predators advanced relentlessly. Entire systems fell to their attack, yet each engagement taught the Alliance something new. Strategies were refined, mistakes corrected, and the principles of humanity applied with growing precision. Solara's voice echoed across the command channels as the largest engagement yet began near the binary stars of Lycoris. Predator forces, larger than any fleet encountered before, entered the system. Their goal was clear: destroy everything in their path. The Alliance responded. Fleets moved with human-inspired coordination, drawing the predators into traps designed to split and confuse them. Scout ships reported positions in real time. Supply chains delivered reinforcements faster than anyone thought possible. Each species contributed its strengths, covering the weaknesses of others. The battle was brutal. Many worlds suffered damage and losses were heavy. Yet the Alliance survived. They forced the predators to retreat, a feat that had seemed impossible just weeks earlier. For the first time, hope spread across the galaxy. Humanity's lesson was proving true. Unity could triumph where strength alone failed. After the battle, the crew of the Ardent Light reflected on the victory. The galaxy was far from safe, but it was changing. Civilizations that had once fought endlessly were learning to cooperate. Fleets that had once operated independently were now parts of a larger whole. Vrieg spoke softly, almost to himself. Humanity is still with us. Not in body, but in memory and strategy and courage. Their gift is alive, Dr. Kralin nodded. Yes, and the galaxy must remember it, not just in battle, but in every decision. Survival is more than fighting. It is learning, sharing, and trusting others. Solara looked out at the stars. The predators will return stronger, smarter. But now we are ready. We are not humans, but we carry their lesson, and that is enough to face what is coming. The Sentinels, the preserved human machines, had fulfilled their purpose. They had guided the Alliance to understand the essence of humanity, not their power, but their endurance, their cooperation, and their wisdom. Humanity had left no weapons, no overwhelming fleets, only the knowledge that could unite civilizations and turn despair into hope. Solara whispered as she watched the systems recover from the battle. We have humanity's gift, and we will honor it. Their absence is not weakness. It is a lesson, and the galaxy is beginning to learn it. The storm was not over. Predator forces still lurked beyond the edges of known space. But for the first time, the galaxy faced the coming trials together, united by a gift left long ago by a vanished species. In every fleet, on every world, and in every council, the memory of humanity was alive. It guided their hands, steadied their hearts, and reminded them that even the smallest, most fragile beings could leave a legacy strong enough to shape the fate of stars. And the greatest gift humanity had given the galaxy, the power of unity, was ready to be tested. The galaxy held its breath. Predator fleets, massive and relentless, moved through the void like shadows of destruction. Systems that had once been vibrant now lay in ruin. Civilization trembled at the edge of despair. Yet hope glimmered, born not from overwhelming firepower, but from the lessons humanity had left behind. Captain Solara stood on the bridge of the Ardent Light, her eyes scanning the holographic map of incoming predator forces. She had spent months traveling between colonies, activating sentinels and uniting species that had once been enemies. Now all those efforts would be tested in the greatest battle the galaxy had ever faced. Status, she commanded. Vrieg's mandibles clicked as he processed the data. All fleets are in position, Captain. Coordinated formations are stable. The predators are approaching the Cerulean cluster. Their numbers exceed previous estimates by nearly 20%, but Alliance strategy is fully integrated. Dr. Kralin hissed softly. They are massive. Entire star systems are following them as they move. If we fail, billions of lives will vanish. Solara took a deep breath. Then we will not fail. Humanity may have vanished, but their lesson is alive. Strength alone will not win this war, but unity will. The combined fleets approached the cerulean cluster. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species glided through space, moving with precision. Each commander followed the strategies recorded by the human sentinels, adapting them to alien technology and different physiology. Scout ships relayed information in real time. Fleet formations shifted like living organisms, anticipating the predator movements. Smaller, agile vessels drew the predators into traps, while heavier cruisers waited to strike at critical moments. This is humanity's strategy in action, Vriek whispered. They always fought smarter, never just harder. Now we are doing the same. Dr. Krellin nodded. It is as if humans are here guiding us, not with their bodies, but with their memory, their wisdom. The first wave of predators entered the cluster. Their ships glimmered with deadly energy, moving in perfect synchronization. Worlds shook as their weapons tested the shields of the Alliance. Losses occurred immediately. Several colonies were damaged, but the fleets held together. Solara's voice was calm but firm over the communication channels. Hold formation, follow the human tactics. Remember their lesson, unity above all. Ships that had once fought independently now acted as a single entity. Flanking maneuvers drew predators into crossfire. Supply chains worked faster than the enemy expected. Repair crews coordinated across species, maintaining fleet strength. For the first time, the predators faced organized resistance, not by a single race, but by an entire galaxy acting as one. Hours turned into days. Battles raged across multiple systems. Some planets were lost, but others held firm. Each engagement taught the Alliance new lessons, and each lesson was applied immediately. Humanity's principles, adaptation, cooperation, and the courage to endure, became the foundation of survival. Solara watched from the ardent light, her eyes focused on the holographic displays. We are learning faster than the enemy expects. Every victory, every lesson makes us stronger. Vriek clicked nervously. But they are relentless. They adapt too. We cannot underestimate them, Dr. Krellin hissed softly. True, but we are learning faster. Humanity left us the path, and now we are walking it. The decisive moment arrived when the Predator fleet entered the heart of the cluster. A massive black star hung nearby, its gravity warping space. The Alliance had prepared a trap inspired by human tactics from centuries ago. Deceptive signals, false retreat paths, and concentrated ambush zones. Solara gave the order. All fleets engage. Follow the plan exactly. The Predators pursued the retreating ships, unaware they were being funneled into the trap. Suddenly, Alliance forces struck from multiple directions. Flanking fleets attacked with precision. Smaller ships disabled Predator shields while larger cruisers targeted command centers. Communication and coordination across species allowed attacks that no single Predator could counter. The battle was fierce. Explosions lit the void. Debris scattered across light years and alarms screamed on every bridge. Yet the Alliance held its ground. Slowly, Predator forces began to break, retreating in confusion. Systems that had been on the brink of destruction survived. Solara felt a surge of pride and relief. Humanity's lesson had not only guided the fleets, it had changed them. Old rivalries, centuries of mistrust, and endless disputes had given way to cooperation. The galaxy was not the same as it had been before. Vriek clicked with excitement. We did it. We survived their assault. Humanity's strategies. They worked. Dr. Krellin's tail flicked with satisfaction. Yes, but the true victory is more than survival. We learned to act together. That is their real gift. Solara looked out at the stars, now calm after the storm. Humanity vanished, but they are not gone. Every alliance we formed, every fleet that learned to cooperate, every life we saved carries their lesson. That is immortality. That is the final gift. After the battle, the galaxy held a remembrance ceremony. Worlds once divided by war gathered together in orbit around Earth, now a peaceful and abandoned world. Representatives from dozens of species spoke in honor of humanity, acknowledging the lessons they had left behind. Solara spoke last. We do not mourn humanity. We honor them. They vanished not because they were weak, but because they were wise. They faced challenges greater than ourselves and taught us how to endure without being here. Their legacy is alive in every world that stood united, in every fleet that coordinated, in every mind that learned their lesson. The alien delegates nodded solemnly. Many species that had once distrusted each other now shook hands, or their equivalent, and pledged to maintain the bonds forged during the war. In the ruins of Earth, the wind whispered through ancient cities. Forest had reclaimed what humans had built. Oceans lapped against the empty shores. Monuments stood eroded by centuries, yet their message remained clear. Humanity had vanished, but their memory endured. On Mars, the Sentinels remained vigilant, their lights flickering as if nodding in approval. The DNA crystals, preserved for centuries, now held knowledge spread across the galaxy, ensuring that humans' wisdom would never be lost. Solara walked through the silent streets of New York, now covered in greenery. She touched the remains of a pedestal, where long ago a human hologram had spoken. "We remember you," she whispered, "and we will carry your lesson through every challenge yet to come." Months passed, and the galaxy slowly recovered. Predator forces, scattered and defeated, retreated to unknown corners. Systems rebuilt, fleets rearmed, and communications strengthened. Species that had once been divided now shared technology and knowledge freely. Solara reflected on the journey. Humanity had vanished from the galaxy, yet their influence was stronger than any empire, weapon, or fleet. They had left not destruction but understanding, not fear but courage, not war but unity. Vreek, standing beside her, said softly, "I think I understand now. Humanity did not just survive the galaxy, they taught it how to survive. And in that way, they are still here." Dr. Kralin nodded. "Yes, their lesson is eternal. Strength may fail, power may fade, but memory, cooperation, and unity, these endure." Solara looked at the stars and smiled. Humanity had left a message carved across the galaxy. No species could survive alone. Only together could they endure the storms of the universe, and now, the galaxy would carry that lesson forward, forever changed by a species that had vanished, but whose memory had taught them the ultimate truth. The final words of humanity echoed across every corner of space. "We do not endure forever. But if you carry our lesson, if you stand together, then in every act of unity, humanity still lives." The galaxy bowed its head, not in mourning, but in gratitude. Humanity had vanished, yet it had given the universe a gift no enemy could take, a lesson that would endure for all time. And somewhere, in the quiet of the stars, the legacy of humanity watched silently, guiding the galaxy with a wisdom born of centuries of survival, courage, and unity.